Howdy. My name is Nonat, and welcome to part 3 of my deep dive into the champion class for Pathfinder 2nd edition. I really did not expect this to go into 3 videos like the Oracle did, but I just had way too much to say about this class. Before we jump into the rest of the feats in this video, I do want to say a couple of things. First off, I pinned this as a comment on the last episode, but I don't want people to get the wrong idea. Looking back through that video in editing, I saw how negative I seemed when describing this class and all of my issues with it. And yes, I still have those issues. Everything I bring up in that video is my honest thoughts and opinions on the class. However, I don't want people to get the wrong idea. I do not hate the champion class. I really enjoy it, and it's dripping with flavor. I just think there's some balancing issues here and there. While I may have a lot of issues here, you may have none at all, and that's totally fine. I just like to interject some of my own opinions into these videos, and in that video, a lot of opinion leaked out. So fair warning, I'm not going to reel it back anymore. I'm going to try not to sound as over the top and whiny as I did in that video, but I am still going to be giving honest opinions on my thoughts and ideas for the class and feats that I don't agree with. Starting off with a really cool one at level 6 is the Evil Champion's Corrupted Shield. Now this is a feat I wish any champion could take. I understand why it's evil because it's all about counterattacking and dealing back what's been dealt to you, but I think this could have fit for any champion. Corrupted Shield adds damage to your shield block. So long as you are using shield block with your Divine Shield ally shield, the attacker takes 1d6 evil or negative damage, your choice. In addition, should they break or destroy your shield, they take double damage. Now, a shield breaking isn't just a bad thing. You can almost think of it when you break your shield, you get to automatically critical hit with this attack. At levels 11 and 16, this increases to 2d6 and 3d6 respectively, meaning at level 16, if someone breaks your shield, they take 6d6 damage. That's really good. Coming from a campaign where our champion was entirely based around shields, he would have killed for a feat like this. Invigorating Mercy is a direct upgrade to the Mercy feat, and thus is a prerequisite for this feat. And this expands Mercy's ability to counteract different conditions. Along with paralysis and fear, now you can also counteract clumsy and enfeebled. Whatever the source of the effect was determines the level and DC of the counteract check. And keep in mind, if your ally is afflicted by something that is constantly re-inflicting enfeebled or clumsy every single turn, you only get rid of it until the end of your next turn, and then it comes back. Smite Good works exactly like Smite Evil does from the core rulebook, and just because people seem a little bit confused, let me go into this a little bit more about alignment damage. I had some comments asking why certain creatures would be immune to good damage when talking about Smite Evil. Well, according to this spot, wherever on the screen it is, from the core rulebook, we see that alignment damage, whether it be good or evil, or lawful or chaotic, only hurts those of the opposite alignment. So if you deal lawful damage, that can only hurt chaotically aligned creatures. Same with Smite Good here. If you deal evil damage, it can only hurt good creatures. Neutral creatures are completely immune, which makes true neutral a very interesting alignment because they're not affected by any of the 4 alignment damage. But just like Smite Evil, this increases to 6 bonus damage if you are a master proficiency with your weapon, and if an enemy attacks you before the start of your next turn, it restarts the effect and you don't need to activate it again on the following turn. Level 8's Advanced Deity's Domain grants you the Advanced Domain spell from whatever domain your deity resides over. I haven't actually looked into these advanced spells too much, so unfortunately I can't give my wholeful opinion on this compared to Deity's Domain, but what this does have over Deity's Domain is it actually grants you a focus point. Personally, I would have taken the focus point off of this feat and plugged it into the level 1 Deity's Domain, but maybe 2 focus points for healing at level 1 could have been too strong. Greater Mercy once again enhances the Mercy feat, granting it the ability to remove even more unique conditions. Mercy can now counteract blind, deafened, slowed, or sickened. I'll give you 5 guesses what Heal Mount does. It's actually not as clear as you might think. Heal Mount itself is not an action. It actually augments your Lay on Hands if you cast it on your Divine Steed ally. Instead of healing for the normal 6 plus 6 per heightened level, it heals your mount for 10 plus 10 per heightened level, which at level 8, that's going to heal your mount for 40 hit points. That's pretty solid. There is some interesting support here for an animal companion champion, which I just think is so interesting. I know it's designed for you to ride cavalier style into battle, but you could actually make a fairly effective champion that fights alongside their horse, not on top, but together, and I think that would be hilarious. Especially if it's something like a goblin champion with a goblin dog mount just flanking and ripping their enemies to shreds, I think that has some serious cool promise. Quick Block is a much needed upgrade to the champion, which unfortunately it is a feat. This would have been a cool class feature, but you get an additional reaction every single round that can only be used to shield block. So now you don't have to choose between shield block and shielding an ally with your champion reaction, if you're a good champion. Now you can do both. You can protect yourself and your ally. Fantastic. Second ally is pretty simple. You get to choose one of the other two divine allies. If you picked sword, you can pick shield or steed as well. Overall, I would only use this as a second chance to get an animal companion. Having shield and sword ally wouldn't be all that useful. But maybe it's a good investment for some feats down the line. Sense Evil is one of those cool passive feats that it's up to your dungeon master to keep track of. Anytime an evil creature tries to hide its evil intents from you or wear a disguise and pretend to be something else, it has to roll a secret deception check against your perception DC. Should it fail that deception check, you, the champion, get to find out that something's amiss, something is not right with this person. The accuracy of this sense is compared to human smell, so it's not super precise, but you know it's there. Greater Cruelty is fantastic, what can I say? It augments your cruelty, similar to Mercy, and now instead of only being able to inflict Enfeebled on a failed save, you can now choose to inflict Enfeebled, Clumsy, or Stupefied. This is absolutely nuts, because no matter what you're fighting, you can hurt its primary statistic. Are you fighting a spellcaster? Hurt their charisma or intelligence, hurt their spellcasting chance. Fighting an assassin, give it clumsy. Fighting an ogre, give it enfeebled. There is never a bad situation to have this feat. Sacrifice armor is interesting, and I like that this is available to all champions. It's really good if you have access to the crafting repair skill. When you take a hit, you can choose to automatically break your armor to reduce the damage you take by twice your armor's level. So if you're wearing an armor with an item level of 4, you can break it to reduce the damage you took by 8. Now remember that the broken condition affects armor different than all other items. You can still use your armor if it's broken. The only downside is it reduces your armor class. If you're wearing broken light armor, you take a -1. Broken medium is -2, and broken heavy armor is a -3 penalty. Now, I can't tell if this is a typo or not, but this is pretty brutal. If your armor is already damaged, it is destroyed instead of broken. Now, it uses the term damaged, not broken. So if your armor has 50 hit points and it's at 49, and you use sacrifice armor, does that just destroy your armor? Part of me thinks they meant to say if your armor was already broken. That means you could use this a second time, even though your armor's broken, and it would get destroyed. I'm not sure which way they intended it, but hopefully it's the latter. I think that's how I would run it as a GM. Sort of as a last-ditch effort, like, I know I'm not going to be able to save this armor, but at least I won't die. Sense Good works the exact same way as Sense Evil, except flip the alignments. Devoted Focus is your standard upgrade to the Refocus activity. Now you get 2 focus points back instead of just 1. Imposing Destrier is your normal animal companion advancement feat. You can make them either nimble or savage, and they get a free action every single turn to stride or strike, even if you did not command them. Always amazing. If you're using your ally as a main part of your build, you're taking this feat. Litany Against Sloth, in my opinion, might be the single best champion focus spell. For 1 action, you can target any evil creature within 30 feet. That creature makes a will save, and like usual, should they critically succeed, nothing happens. Should they normal succeed, they cannot use reactions for 1 round. Any reaction at all on a normal success. Should they fail, they can't use reactions, and they're slowed 1, which means they only get 2 actions on the following turn. Should they critically fail, they cannot use reactions and are slowed 2, meaning they get 1 action on their next turn and no reactions. This completely shuts a creature down and out of initiative, pretty much, for one full round. Sure, they might get 1 or 2 actions, but this is so debilitating. And again, Pathfinder 2e is all about action economy. You are spending 1 action to get rid of potentially 2 actions and a reaction. Maybe more if the creature has multiple reactions. This just gets better and better as you go up in level and more enemies start having more reactions. Radiant Blade Spirit is finally where Divine Blade Ally starts to sort of work a bit better, but again, only if you know what you're going to be fighting that day. Along with the other runes you can prepare from Divine Blade Ally, you can now prepare Flaming, which is always good and really the main reason you would take this. Or any of the aligned damage property runes, which deal bonus lawful, chaotic, evil, or good damage. 9 times out of 10, Flaming is going to be the way to go. This makes you basically permanently deal 1d6 bonus fire damage on every single attack, and that gets doubled on a critical hit. Additionally, on a critical hit with Flaming, you deal 1d10 persistent fire damage. The 4 aligned work very similar with a slightly different critical hit effect, which is weird. The critical hit effect for these are really unique and interesting, such as the lawful one always dealing average damage rounded up, but overall, Flaming is definitely a bit better. Plus, unless you're on the plane of fire, pretty much everything's weak to fire. Everything burns if you burn hot enough. Shield of Reckoning, once again, is a fantastic feat. Level 10 is amazing for champions, I'll give them that. This is a reaction, one single reaction, which lets you both shield block for an ally and use your champion's reaction at the same time. This can lead to some crazy damage mitigation. If you're a Redeemer, you can reduce the damage they take by 2 plus your champion level plus the hardness of your shield block. Additionally, you get to make them enfeebled. This is phenomenal. There's nothing wrong with this at all, in my opinion. This is one of the biggest power spikes you can give a champion, and unfortunately, unless you're not using a shield, it comes across as a must-have feat for almost all champions. But if you're going full DPS two-handed weapon champion, Radiant Blade Spirit's probably a bit better. Well, of course it's better. You can't use the Shield of Reckoning if you don't have a shield. Elucidating Mercy. I think you know how these work right now. Now you can counteract Stupefied and Confused. Litany of Self-Interest is such a cool feat, and this is a Dungeon Master tool. For one action, you can target any creature. Does not have to be a good creature. You can target any creature and force them to make a will save. Unfortunately, should the creature even normal succeed, nothing happens. But should they fail, they gain a flat +2 status bonus to attack rolls, perception checks, skill checks, and saving throws. The only downside is they cannot perform any action that would help somebody besides themselves. Additionally, the target no longer considers any other creature an ally, so if they are trying to flank with someone and they get affected by Litany of Self-Interest, they're not flanking anymore because they don't have an ally on the other side of that creature. Interestingly, the creature not affected by Litany of Self-Interest still considers the other one an ally, but those affected by this spell have no allies for that round. There's some crazy caveats in here too, like even if a spell would help yourself and your ally, you can't use it. So if you're a cleric, which is how I used this with my anti-paladin, if you're a cleric and you've been affected by Litany of Self-Interest, you cannot heal your allies and you can't even do an AoE heal. You can heal yourself, that's totally fine, but you are not allowed to heal or support an ally for one round. And it is such a fun way to throw a screwy curveball into a team's plan when they're like, oh, we'll be fine, our cleric can heal us. Ha! No, he can't. Also at level 15, the bonus increases to +3. What's cool about using this on a champion is you can target yourself with this. You can choose to fail the saving throw voluntarily and just receive the bonus. If you don't plan to help anybody, you can use this as a one-action focus point to give yourself +2 to pretty much everything for one round. Not bad. Resilient Touch is a direct upgrade for the good champion's Lay on Hands. From then on, any ally that gets healed by your Lay on Hands gets a +1 status bonus to saving throws until the end of their next turn. Just a really good permanent buff to a focus spell. Affliction Mercy. Now you can counteract diseases, poisons, and curses, and this is sort of the capstone of the Mercy feats. This is the best one in my opinion, as the other effects do sort of end on their own, usually pretty quickly, but curses, diseases, and poisons are usually pretty sticky, especially curses, so being able to counteract those, very good. Aura of Faith, similar to Smite Evil, is really good if you're fighting evil creatures. What's amazing about this is it doesn't need to be activated. Permanently, your strikes deal 1 bonus good damage against evil creatures. Honestly, comparing this to Smite Evil from earlier, which grants you 4 bonus damage against evil creatures, this is kind of better, and the Smite Evil's not a requirement. Sure, it's 3 less damage, but the best part of this is it takes advantage of most evil creatures' weakness to good damage. So sure, this does 3 less damage, 5 less damage once you're a master proficiency, but you don't have to use an action on it. Along with this, any good alignment ally that starts their turn within 15 feet of you gets this bonus on their first strike that turn. Actually, they don't even need to start their turn next to you. If they move up within 15 feet of you and attack, they get that bonus. I think as long as you're fighting evil creatures, I keep saying that, this is one of the best champion feats in the game. Just pure, passive, team damage bonus. Hey, you know that fighter feat, Power Attack? What if we gave it to champions at level 12? And it only works on evil creatures. Now, it does have a small bonus in that it also inflicts your Divine Smite for 4 additional persistent good damage, maybe 5. But overall, this is Power Attack 11 levels later. It's really underwhelming. Only available to paladins, too. So, kind of... Like, don't get me wrong, it's not bad. A 2-action attack that gives you 2 additional damage die is pretty good. And it inflicts persistent good damage. That's not bad. I just think this could have been earlier. Maybe level 6 or 8. Or maybe even level 2. I think this would have been a great feat at level 2 if it scaled the same way Power Attack did. 1 additional damage dice against evil creatures at level 2, upgrade that at levels 10 and 16 or something like that. I guess it would be 10 and 18. Champion Sacrifice is a focus spell that is a reaction, which is getting a little stuffy because champions have a lot of reactions to choose from now. Not a bad thing, but you can't use them all. Should an ally within 30 feet of you take damage from a source or fail a saving throw, you can take all of the consequences for them. Should they be critically hit by a fireball, you take all of the damage they would have taken. Should they be just hit by a horrible status effect like Stupefied 3, you can take it for them. They're fine, and you become Stupefied 3. This is really, really strong in cases where an ally gets hit by something that does not mean as much against you. Should you be a strength and charisma-based fighter, and your ally gets inflicted by Clumsy, you can take that effect from them, and that really doesn't do much for you since you don't use dexterity anyway. Also, you cannot use your own resistances to reduce this damage. If your ally takes 50 fire damage and you have fire resistance 10, you still take 50 fire damage. Divine Wall is really not that exciting. All spaces adjacent to you are difficult terrain for your enemies. This is fine, I guess. It makes it easier for you to stand between the enemy and your ally. But if you think about it, they can just walk around you. At the cost of 5 feet of movement to move 1 space to the side of you, they can save a lot more than just running through you. I guess it's up to the GM whether the enemies would be smart enough to run around you, but this ain't great. Lasting Doubt is a direct upgrade for the Redeemer. Upon the inflicted condition wearing off after 1 round, such as the Enfeebled 2 wearing off after 1 round, rather than disappearing completely, the enemy is then Enfeebled 1 for 1 minute. This also works if you have the feat that lets you make them stupefied, so you now get half the effect of your condition for a full minute, which is an entire encounter, so that's amazing. And Liberating Stride is an upgrade for the Liberator, which, when you use your reaction on an ally, instead of only being able to step, they can opt to stride up to half their speed instead. Can really come in handy. Amplifying Touch once again augments your lay on hands permanently without needing to spend an action like with Mercy. Now, whenever an ally is healed by your lay on hands, they get a +1 to attack rolls and +1 additional good damage on all of their strikes until the end of their next turn. I do really love this lay on hands build champion. where all they do is run around and support and heal and buff their allies. The only downside is, it's a focus spell. You can only have, with the level 1 feat that can let you recover it in combat, you can have a maximum of 4 focus points per encounter, and with these effects only lasting 1 round, they're not ideal. But hey, if you're next to your fighter in combat, right next to each other, you can slap them with Amplifying Touch and then continue to hack into your enemy. Interestingly, this says an ally that recovers hit points gets this effect, so I'm not sure if you can use this on yourself. You can cast Lay on Hands on yourself. So as a GM, I would rule that you can buff yourself with this, but if you're going super snooty rules lawyer, rules as written, only an ally could get this benefit, then technically you're not wrong. Enforce Oath is fine, I guess. If you've sworn an oath feat against a specific type of creature, and you're fighting such a creature, you can spend an action to dedicate your oath of murder on that creature specifically. Let's say you're fighting a dragon, you can enforce your oath to murder that dragon, and you get a permanent +1 to all attack rolls against that specific dragon. However, let's say you're fighting 2 dragons. Should you enforce your oath to kill one of the dragons, you get a -1 to armor class, attack rolls, and saving throws against the other dragon. This is great in a one-on-one encounter against a super powerful enemy of your chosen oath, but if there's more than one enemy, you are painting a target on your back. Gruesome Strike is fine. I don't think it's super powerful, but it would have been tough to make stronger than it is. For 1 action, you make a strike against any creature that triggered your evil champion reaction in the last round. This strike, if it hits this creature, deals double the bonus damage from your reaction. So this would be best put on an anti-paladin, which at this level would be dealing 4 additional damage with their strikes. This would allow you to deal 8 damage with that strike against them, which is okay. Additionally, they make a fortitude save against your class DC, and should they fail, they're drained 1. No critical failure effect, unfortunately, but, drained is a solid condition, and will reduce their health by their level. I kinda wish they weren't immune to this for 24 hours afterwards, even if they succeed. Maybe make them immune to the drained effect, or make it so you can't increase the drained effect like this, but, being able make this a flourish, make it so once per round, you can double the bonus damage from your reaction. I think that'd be pretty cool, but unfortunately you can only use this once on a creature, once every 24 hours. Pale Horse is one of the coolest things I've read in this class. Your Divine Steed ally gains either poison, fire, or negative damage in its skin. This means it either catches on fire as you ride it, or begins to leak poison out of its orifices, or just gives off this negative, corrupting aura. Any creature that makes physical contact with your steed takes 1d6 damage of the chosen type of fire, negative, or poison. This includes melee weapon attacks while adjacent to the steed. On top of that, your steed also gains 10 resistance of the chosen type, though it only gets this resistance while you ride it, interestingly enough. Another cool fact is that you aren't stuck with one of these choices. Every time you mount your steed, you can choose between fire, negative, or poison. This is honestly a fantastic feat. If you're fighting undead, pick fire. If you're fighting angels, pick negative. This is so versatile, and the damage even scales every 4 levels to 2d6 and 3d6 in retaliation. Level 14's Anchoring Aura is kinda useless, I'm not gonna lie. This is probably, aside from the level 2 Oaths, this might be my least favorite champion feat. If a fiend within 15 feet of you attempts to teleport, you get to make a counteract check based on your devotion spell level and DC. Should you succeed, they don't get to teleport and they lose the spell. Should you fail, they teleport anyway. Or, should they walk 10 feet away from you and then teleport, there's nothing you can do about it. Why is it a 15-foot aura? If it's supposed to stop fiends from escaping, why is it only a 15-foot aura? That is less than 1 move action to get away from you and just teleport. Aura of Life for the Shining Oath is at least way better than the Fiend's Bane Oath. This grants you and all allies within 15 feet 5 resistance to negative energy and +1 to all saving throws against necromancy effects. Not bad, especially if you're fighting undead. Aura of Righteousness is one available to any champion and just gives you and all allies a permanent 5 resistance to evil damage. Is it incredible? No, but it's free. Well, aside from the feat you spend. You don't have to activate it. Meanwhile, Aura of Vengeance, which is stuck behind the Paladin cause because you need the Vengeful Oath as a prerequisite, is so much better than the other oaths. When you use the Exalt ability of your Paladin Retributive Strike, which allows you and all allies within 15 feet to make an attack of opportunity on the target, and instead of your allies doing this at a -5, they only do this at a -2. This is insane. This means if you and 2 allies, maybe even more allies, are just surrounding the same creature, and you have Aura of Vengeance and you use Retributive Strike with Exalt, that's 4 attacks of opportunity, 3 of which are only at a -2. That's not bad at all. This is disgusting. But it does have to combat with Divine Reflexes, which gives you an additional champion reaction every turn. As a Paladin, you can now Retributive Strike twice. As a Redeemer, you can now reduce damage twice. This is going to be hard-pressed to be picked over any other feat. Litany of Righteousness, though, gives you a devotion spell and a focus point. Litany of Righteousness would be fantastic if it lasted longer than 1 round. It's still not terrible. For 1 action and a focus point, you choose 1 evil creature within 30 feet, and that creature just gains 7 weakness to good. Now, if you have the aura from level 10 that allows you and your allies to all deal bonus good damage on your attacks, that's not bad. That's 7 extra damage on all of your attacks for 1 round. Let's say you and all of your allies successfully hit a creature once. Let's even say your fighter hit them twice. We'll say you and allies within 15 feet of you managed to hit 4 different times. That's a net gain of 28 bonus damage for your focus point. This is honestly okay. If you compare it to Touch of Corruption at level 7, that's 7d6. On a failed save, we'll be dealing roughly 18 damage on average. So this is not bad. If you can hit the target 3 or more times after using this, that's a bonus of 21 damage. The biggest drawback of this is if you're already fighting purely evil things like undead or demons, they might already have a weakness to good damage. And the way weaknesses work, it's not additive. You only use the highest. So if something already has weakness 5 to good damage, and you use Litany of Righteousness, well, they're only taking 2 additional good damage per hit. So if you're fighting evil creatures that aren't weak to good already, this is fantastic. If not, you can do better. Wormbane Aura is honestly phenomenal and almost makes the Dragon Slayer Oath worth investing. You and all allies within 15 feet of you gain resistance to acid, cold, electric, fire, and poison damage equal to your charisma modifier. That's not bad. That's at this level probably a flat 5 damage resistance permanently that does not require activation to all of that damage. Phenomenal. Fireball just got super nerfed. Not super nerfed, but at least a little nerfed. Additionally, if any of this damage is from a dragon's breath weapon, the resistance increases to your level, so 14 damage reduction on any dragon breath weapon on you and all allies within 15 feet. This is cool. This is phenomenal, but man does it suck that you have to invest in that super specific 2nd level feat. Aura of Preservation from the Esoteric Oath gives you and all allies within 15 feet +1 to Fortitude and Will saves as long as the source is from an aberration. Additionally, even if they're not from aberrations, you get a +1 status bonus against morph and polymorph effects and will saves against mental effects. Should these be coming from an aberration, the bonus increases to +2. Greater Interpose is an upgrade to the Sacrifice Armor feat. Now, along with being able to use it when you are attacked, you can sacrifice your armor to reduce damage from a failed reflex save effect. Additionally, and this is the big one, should you use Sacrifice Armor against a critical hit or a critical failure on a reflex save, not only does it reduce the damage, but it also turns that critical hit into a normal hit. So if you would be critically hit for 60 damage and you have a level 8 armor, item level 8, then first off, you turn that 60 into 30 and then reduce it by 16. That's amazing. And all it takes is 15 minutes to repair your armor later that day. Oh boy, that is prime self-damage mitigation. Evil champions can get the Litany of Depravity devotion spell. Guess what? It's the exact same as Litany of Righteousness, just evil damage. Auspicious Mount lets you specialize your animal companion. As well, your horse becomes an expert in religion. It can also speak Celestial. And it gets way smarter with +2 to its intelligence mod and +1 to its wisdom mod. I just love that your horse becomes this expert in religion. Instrument of Zeal buffs up your Divine Blade ally. Should you critically hit with Smite Evil active or using Retributive Strike, you get to add an additional damage die and inflict slowed 1. Now it's unfortunate because, especially at high levels and capping out at master weapon proficiency, getting a critical hit is pretty tough for a champion. It's not impossible, but it's still rough. But when it happens, inflicting slowed 1 on all critical hits, and hopefully you're using Smite Evil or Retributive Strike almost every turn, that's a really good effect. Shield of Grace bumps up your ability to protect your allies even more. Now, instead of the damage being dealt entirely to your ally upon blocking it, now you can split the damage between you and your ally. Now this has to be an even split. If they were going to take 20, you both take 10. So you can't take all of it for them, but hey, that's even more damage reduction from your squishier allies. Expand Aura is something that I don't think should need to be a feat and should be just a feature of all of the champion auras. For one action with the Concentrate trait, you can double the range of your aura until the start of your next turn. This is pretty cool. I just wish this isn't something I want to invest an entire class feat into. Being able to anchor fiends down at 30 feet is way better than 15, but I want to be able to do that just when you take the aura, not as my 16th level class feat to just extend the range, because this doesn't power up your aura in any way. It just lets you expand it. Instrument of Slaughter is absolutely brutal. Should you critically hit an enemy with your blade ally weapon, and that attack is dealing bonus damage because that creature recently triggered your reaction, you inflict persistent bleed damage equal to 2 of your weapon's damage dice. I want you to picture this on a Tyrant. A Tyrant champion, which gets hit, and at level 16, I believe inflicts 5d6 persistent mental damage, because of course we took that feat at level 1, so they're already taking 5d6 persistent mental damage. Now, with what I assume is a Great Axe, we critically strike our enemy who's already taking that persistent mental damage. If we're level 16, that's probably a greater striking, so that's 3d12 critical, so 6d12. So they're now taking 5d6 persistent mental damage, then 6d12 from our critical hit Great Axe, and then an additional 2d12 persistent bleed damage. That's nasty, dude. That's not counting bonuses from passive damage or stats and ability modifiers. That's really cool, and this gross bleed Tyrant champion, it sounds like an awesome big bad guy. It would still be super fun to play as a character. God, that's nasty. Celestial Form is... it's boring, but you couldn't make it any stronger. You get wings and dark vision. You can fly. Simple as that. Like, any good champion can take this, and any good champion can fly at level 18, and that shouldn't be undersold. It sucks that this is level 18, and if you already have dark vision, you just get a fly speed with wings. It's really cool. The flavor is mwah. You get fancy wings. You're literally an archangel at this point. But that's it. It doesn't power you up in any way. It just lets you fly. It's hard to say that just lets you fly, but for a level 18 feat, I just feel like it should do more. Ultimate Mercy is sort of the capstone for the support champion. Your Lay on Hands can revive the dead if they've been dead no longer than 1 round. If that creature died after the end of your last turn, you can resurrect it, but the second your next turn ends, you can't resurrect it anymore. Now what's amazing is this isn't a saving throw, this isn't a dice roll, this is just if you can get to your fallen ally, cast Mercy and Lay on Hands, you can bring them back, and bring them back down to Wounded 1. This is amazing if you can make it work. You have 1 turn to do this, and you already have to spend an action casting Mercy and an action casting Lay on Hands, which is a touch spell. So you get one action to move up to that ally. If they're more than 25, 30 feet away, sorry. So really good, really risky. I think it's really cool. Fiendish Form. It's the same as Celestial Form, except you get evil wings. Rejuvenating Touch is honestly really powerful and just a permanent upgrade to your Lay on Hands. This is a solid competition for being able to resurrect someone from the dead, because Rejuvenating Touch, along with healing your ally from Lay on Hands, grants them 10 temporary hit points that regenerate every round for 10 rounds. So even if they get hit and lose the 10 temporary hit points, they come back the next round. Now this is level 18, so 10 hit points isn't a lot, but it's really, really good and just keeps them with a permanent 10 hit point buffer. You can almost think of this as giving them 10 resistance to anything that hits them for the first time each round. Not bad. It's worth noting, however, if the ally does go unconscious, this effect ends, and they don't get temporary hit points while unconscious. Level 20 Celestial Mount is... Your mount gets 40 extra hit points, but a weakness 10 to evil damage. It also gets the same effects as level 18 Celestial Form, where it can fly, it has dark vision, and it actually doesn't get dark vision, it can just fly, and has the Celestial trait. So it's cool that it gets the hit point bump, but why the weakness to dark damage? I get it because it's become a Celestial, but when you get Celestial Form, you don't get a weakness to evil damage, so why should your mount? Radiant Blade Master comes way too late. Let's go over the 3 new runes this unlocks during your daily preparations each day. Greater Disrupting. You deal 2d6 extra damage to undead. Now this is positive damage, so it'll probably trigger a weakness, but this is level 20 to deal 2d6 extra damage against undead, when you already have normal Disrupting, which is honestly almost as good. The only thing this adds is that it does add a high DC Fortitude save, which, granted, this is a level 14 item rune that you're getting at level 20. So it sounds like a lot. DC 34 Fortitude save sounds like a lot. But if you're fighting a level 19 undead creature or higher, they're gonna have really high Fortitude saves. Additionally, this effect from Greater Disrupting that can make them enfeebled, or if they critically fail, destroyed, is an incapacitation effect. And that effect ain't based on your level. It's level 14. So anything higher than level 14 treats their saving throw as 1 higher. So already Greater Disrupting, not that useful. Keen is probably the best out of the 3, but it's also kind of boring. A 19 on a d20 also functions like a 20 for the sake of this weapon. So, if you would get a normal success by rolling a 19, you automatically crit. Not bad. Kind of boring. But this does not turn a failed attack roll into a hit. Keep that in mind. If you roll a 19 and you miss, it does not increase you to a hit. And again, this is an item level 13 rune for a level 20 champion feat. Finally, I saved the worst for last. The Dancing rune. This is useless. A weapon with the Dancing rune can be activated for 2 actions, and it functions kinda like the Spiritual Weapon spell. At the end of each of your turns, the weapon can fly up to 40 feet and then make a strike. You don't even have to spend an action on that. Fantastic. The Dancing weapon does not use your statistics for attacks. It has a flat plus 24 to hit. It also deals normal damage, but no bonus from strength. At the end of every round, when your weapon is done taking its actions, it has a 25% chance to deactivate and fall to the ground. It also can't be activated again for 10 minutes. So your divine level 20 blade ally, you could spend 2 actions to activate it, it could fly over, miss, and then fall on the ground. Shield Paragon is a fantastic feat. I just wish it wasn't at level 20. Your Divine Shield ally now fully doubles its base hit points and broken threshold rather than just increasing by half. Additionally, you don't need to take an action to raise your shield. It is always considered raised, basically granting you a permanent +2 to armor class. This is amazing. Additionally, it can no longer be destroyed. Should your Divine Shield ally be completely destroyed, it is instead teleported to your deity's divine realm, where it is completely repaired and sent back to you during your next daily preparations. This is so cool! but it's such a staple part of a shield champion, and they don't get it until level 20. I know that there's a lot of ways this would be totally busted at lower levels, but it's so important to being able to use your shield to its fullest extent without being horribly punished for it. And the problem is also at this point, you could have the unbreakable shield magic item. That's not even a level 20 magic item, which makes this completely moot. Fiendish Mount is exactly like Celestial Mount, except evil. Sacred Defender is almost really good. You gain a flat 10 resistance to slashing, piercing, and bludgeoning damage. But only if the damage came from creatures of the opposing alignment. It's a level 20 feat. Why can't it just be a flat 10 resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing? I don't think that would be busted. That'd be really cool. The second effect is cool, where your enemies attacking you can no longer nat 20. If they roll a 20, it's just a 20. It does not improve their success. And that doesn't have to be evil. So if that doesn't have to be an evil creature, why does our resistance not apply to other creatures? I do think this is the best level 20 feat, but that's not saying a whole lot. Ladies and gentlemen, we have done it. We have gotten through the champion. Good lord. I had a lot to say. Thank you for your patience with this. Thank you for putting up with my whining. I hope you at least found it somewhat interesting hearing my perspective on the class. I know a lot of people share these opinions. I know a lot of people don't. And it's a really interesting point of contention. As always, let me know down in the comments your thoughts on the class. Are you playing one? Do you have any cool stories about them? What do you think about the champion as a whole? Do you plan to play one? Thank you guys so much for watching. I want to give a huge shout out to my patrons. Y'all are amazing. Thank you so much for supporting me. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, no nat ones.